Hello, everyone. I'm the okayest bassist, and this is the BASSics Volume 12. We will have a guest tonight. He's just getting everything fixed up so he can jump in. Tonight's topic, I know this is supposed to be like an intro learning series kind of thing we've got going. But I do think, especially for new players, these topics are also quite important. You've got a lot of folks who get into a hobby, and again, I've said it many times, everyone's got a vice, everyone has something they spend money on that makes them happy, so they spend that money so they can be happy. But some people get into certain hobbies not realizing the costs of that hobby, or they get into it and then they find themselves in over their head. So I do like having these topic discussions as well. Things that, by the way, my wife got me this new shirt. If y'all want to screenshot that, it's pretty great. Bass player, a skilled musician with the ability to perform without any kind of pointless drama, and usually in a really relaxed state, too. The one responsible for keeping everything together. See also forever employed. Pretty true, except for the, the skilled part in my case. I'm just okay. Anyway, I do think these topics are helpful. Of course, there could be a simple paragraph synopsis on any of the stuff I've discussed, but I do think they're valuable. I think that there are people who get into whatever instrument, whether it's bass, guitar, whether it's drum, whether it's keyboards, whatever, and they, like, I don't know anything for keyboards and stuff, but I've had multiple pianos. I started with just a cheap upright that was one of the free piano. You go pick it up and it's yours. Tuned it, and it had to be tuned half a step low because it was so old and so poorly kept. That, yep, there's my boy. So poorly kept that the basically the tuning on it was shot. I then ended up going to a grand piano because I had a very old, very rustic house and it looked really nice. So I ended up going to a grand piano, and then I realized you have to pay to tune those, and you have all the different upkeeps, they need maintenance. So I ended up switching to an electric keyboard that I put inside a refreshed grand piano body. So it's like just the, okay, yeah, very nice. Apparently, everyone needed to see his popcorn. So, like, I've gone through a few things in that have cost a bit of money. With bases, I mean, most of the people on YouTube that you look at will have the, hey, if you don't have much money, here's my recommendation kind of thing. But let's face it, the vast majority of people shop with our eyes, and we shop with our hopes and dreams. We look at things and we go, hey, I really love the look of whatever. I love the look and sound and the way everyone uses a Stingray. I'd love to have a Stingray. And then we get maybe right now the Ray 2, 250 bucks. We pick that up, we use it, and hey, this is okay. Like, this is good for me. I'm learning. And then we get into that mindset of, what if I had something better? If I had something better, maybe I'd be better. Don't don't do that. The only reason new gear is a way that's going to make you better is if it's inspiring you to play slash practice more. If you have a Sterling Ray 2 and you've learned your roots, you've learned where the basic root notes are on the fretboard, and every now and then you feel like practicing, but half the time you go to practice, you're like, I already know this, I'm not worried about it. Or you go to see someone else doing something, or you pull up a video of instruction saying, here's how you do this, and you look at it and you're like, man, that's really cool. And then when it comes time to go practice it, you're not inspired to do it. You don't have that drive. If getting a new piece of gear keeps the hobby entertaining enough for you, it grabs you enough that you're going, hey, I want to go learn new stuff just because I have this. I have this new bass and it makes me want to play. I want to hold it. I want to use it. So I want to learn new stuff. That's when the new gear is going to make you better. It's not going to be, hey, I've been playing for 2, 3 years. I know my roots. I know whatever else there is to know. I know my some music theory. I know my first and fifths. I know my scales, whatever. And then you turn around and think, hey, I'm going to buy a new bass because it's going to make me play better, but you're not trying to learn anything new, it's not going to make you better. If your bass is buzzing and horribly set up and it sounds like crap, you could set up the bass. There are plenty of good videos out there. I'm thinking about putting one together because I do a setup on everything that I get. Or at least I test the setup to see if it's to the setup I would like, because some people want higher action, some people want narrower string spacing, some people want lower action or wider string spacing. So I'll probably do a video about a general setup, or at least testing your setup. But if you have an instrument that doesn't sound good, make sure it's set up. If it still isn't sounding good, you probably have an electronics problem. If it's passive pickups, then could be the pots, could be the pickups, could be the wiring, who knows. You can have those things tested, or, I mean, depending on what your technician or luthier is going to charge, you might be able to just pick up a set of, if just say you're playing something like, again, a Ray 2. If the sound on it isn't good, and you're outside of warranty, whatever, you could pick up like an EMG HZMM, the Music Man HZ passive series, because that's a passive bass. You could pick that up and get the wiring for it. It's going to cost what the bass cost you, but you don't have to get the new bass if you like that bass. You could do that upgrade. Maybe you want that sound, the EMG sound, or if the pickup isn't that good, you could do that. Or you could take that bass, trade it in. So it's a $250 bass new, used. They're probably going around the 150, 180 mark. So if you go to like a Guitar Center, you're looking 50, 60% of that, depending on how good the rest of the bass is as far as like dents and dings. So say you're going to be lucky, they're able to sell it for 180. They're going to give you maybe $100 for it. So you could take that $100 and upgrade to a Ray 4 if you want active. You could grab a different bass that speaks more to you, whatever. That's what our topic is tonight, is on where to buy. Should you buy new? Should you buy used? What's going to be your better deal? What's going to be your better, like, long-term versus short-term investment? Unless you're buying big, expensive, vintage, collectible stuff, you're not investing in these instruments. Unless you see something that's just a stupid good deal, and you know you'd be able to flip it, then maybe it's an investment. But really, if you're just planning on flipping it, you're using it as a flip. It's not something you're holding on to. While we're waiting for that instructor, let's check chat, because it shows there's a few. Carolina Big, yo, 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 hello. Dino Dan, yo, Big. Everybody chatting. By everybody, I mean all two of you. But that's awesome. I appreciate you guys coming by. Let's see. Yeah, both of you. But I'm looking at both of you. Both of you smash the like button. That'd be 2 more likes than the videos normally get. So, hey, oh, it says there's 3 watching now. So we're picking it up. but it should be here in probably the next 5 minutes or so. We should have the instructor for the night, so that'll be cool. I keep checking the corner to see if he's showing, if it's showing that he's popped up. But anyway, that's the topic of our discussion. On the note of getting stuff, getting it sorted, and all that. Again, if you have an instrument that it's just not speaking to you, or if you're longer in the hobby, and it's more so that you have multiple instruments and some of them aren't getting played as much, then that's another thing too. I personally, on my little wall here, two, four, six, eight, has 10 slots on that wall. I do have a Ray 2 that's supposed to be getting delivered. Everything I ordered recently has been put on back order. I think it's the Sire F10's curse, is that it and everything that you order after it must wait. But I do have a Ray 2 coming, and that one won't go on my wall. I'm thinking I'm just going to put I have a collapsible hanging style stand. I'm thinking I'm just going to keep it in the TV room, the family room, living room, whatever people call it, to have it as kind of just a noodle base. That way, if the boy, the 3-year-old, grabs a hold of it and knocks it off, I mean, it'd suck if it broke $250 base. But it's only a $250 base. It's not one of my others. I do have other videos to come. That one will come out. NAM is still supposed to be happening. I don't know if anyone's been keeping up on it. I have, since I paid a bunch of money to go. NAM is still supposed to happen. The person in charge, whoever he was, I don't know, put out a statement saying that, the wildfires, they're keeping a track on it. They're making sure that it's still, safe for the area. More or less, it's we aren't going to shut it down unless we have to, is how I read it. So it's still going, but then Carolina caught me with a question. Do you think it's possible to make a nut for a 4-string to, okay, 4-string to put on a 5-string neck to make a nut? So you're wanting to take a 5-string bass but make it a 4-string, if I'm understanding the question. Either way, whether it's you're taking a 5 and making it a 4, or a 4 and making it a 5, the answer is yes. I actually have a CAD program on my wife's computer that she uses for all her 3D printing, and I 3D print my own nuts a lot, to add either height or just a little more reinforcement, or to accommodate for string widths a little better. But yeah, most certainly it's doable. If you want to measure the nut width on the neck itself, or the nut that's existing if there's one on it, measure that nut width, and then either in the chat here or private message, whatever, send me what that is. If you can measure all 3 dimensions of the nut that's currently on there, how wide, how tall, and how deep, I can throw it into the CAD program and tell it that you want a 4-string. It will do equal placement of the strings, and then just tell me what size. So I need to know the dimensions of the existing nut if possible. I'll print multiple so that heights can be set to. And then let me know what gauges of string you plan to use, so that I can make sure that they're not too wide or too narrow. But yeah, we use PETG, and I've had multiple nuts that I've printed, and they've done completely fine. I actually had one on my 5-string Explorer bass that has like a Jackson style headstock, so the strings are very angled, and actually on the G it broke the original plastic nut just because of the tension. What's up, bully? But it broke the at the G string, it broke the nut. So I ended up having to print one, and I just made sure to reinforce it, make it a little taller. But yeah, Carolina, if you want to, I won't. won't charge you anything. I'll just send them to you. Send me a private message with the dimensions on the nut and what gauges of string you're preferring to use on it, especially if you're trying to do like a BEAD instead of a EAGD or EADG. So just shoot me a private message on those, and then I'll put it in the CAD program, export probably 3 or 4 just to make heights a little different, so that you don't have something that's too low, and then I'll put them in an envelope, send them to you. Hello, Bully. We are just waiting for the instructor for the night. Should be pulling up any time. Talking about should you buy new, should you buy used, and where to buy them. Before the instructor gets here, I mean, I'll throw my 2 cents in there. If you're looking for used, obviously Reverb's a good option. You're going to be able to go in. What I will say when buying used, and I don't want to like take the wind out of the sails of the instructor, but on my personal side, if I'm looking on Reverb, obviously you sort by price, see what's the cheapest price available right now, and then check the sold listings. Make sure that you look at how much it's been, when it's been sold, and how long ago. Don't just go sold listings, sort by price, and then go, oh, hey, this base sells used for $500. Why is everyone asking 800? Because that could, depending on the model that you're seeing, it could be one, an older model, or two, it could be a listing from 5 years ago that maybe that was their price then. Maybe they're more rare now, or vice versa. Maybe it was a series that was super unpopular back then, so people were just giving them away more or less. Whereas now, maybe it's something, a newer series that you're looking at that's for sale. As far as buying used, obviously Reverb for person to person, or some companies put stuff on there too. And then you have, if you're going used, always check like Guitar Center. They're, when Proper and I were doing the video before, we've talked about it, and Guitar Center's usually pretty good on their used pricing. I mean, they've had some stupid stuff. I know Bully had one that he had seen, I think it was a Fender or something, and they had, the price was the amount they were going to give him based on what they were going to sell it for was just a stupid low. Sometimes you have that. And I'll say this, if you're in a Guitar Center, especially doing like a trade in, call your local guitar centers that are nearby and check. Some of them will give you prices over the phone, like for a trade in, like a ballpark. Some of them won't. They'll tell you, well, just look at what we have it listed used on our website, and we'll give you about half of that. But call around. Like, I live near St. Louis. I say near, it's an hour and a half away. But I called the 3 over there, and 2 of them would give me prices. And when I took a huge load of bases over, one of them was estimating over $600 more than the other, when it was somewhere in the vicinity of $4,000 worth of bases. So definitely check that if you're selling it. If you're buying it, though, I mean, again, Reverb, you can check places like Sweetwater has a used section, I believe. I've seen it before, but I've never really shopped it. Obviously, Reverb, and then, of course, Guitar Center / Musician's Friend. And then as far as new, I mean, you've got everywhere. You've got the Reverbs, the has new stuff on it. But of course, you have all the places to shop: Z Sound, Sweetwater, Musician's Friend, Guitar Center. I mean, the list goes on and on. And then you also, of course, have your mom and pop shops. I love mom and pop shops, private owned, not franchise, not a chain. I love shopping with those folks for 2 reasons. One, I like shopping small, local. Those are people who really appreciate your purchase. Like, if you go into a Guitar Center and make a purchase, the people who work there are like, oh, yeah, cool. The managers are like, oh, cool. Yeah, making quotas. This is great. You go into a shop that's owned by a guy who his family, whatever, have owned it 20, 30 years, and you make a purchase with them. Okay, I bought that at a cost of $800, and that guy bought it from me. We haggled a bit, and he gave me, after taxes, $1,000. I got $100 in the taxes. I made $100 today. That's them making the money. Having been an owner operator of a small business multiple times, it means a lot when you get that sale, just as much as when you trade something in there. Okay, hey, yeah, I'm investing in this purchase. I'm taking $500 out of my account to buy this base from somebody, and I plan to sell it for $800 minimum, but I'm going to price it at 1,000, and then when someone haggles with me, I'm going to make a few $100. It means a lot to that shop. It means a lot to that owner, that business. So I do love mom and pop. And sometimes a mom and pop shop, just like if you go in a pawn shop, if you go in a pawn shop to find a guitar because you're in there, you might find that diamond in the rough. Holy crap, they didn't know what they had because I saw this and I knew about it, so I grabbed it. Your mom and pop's music shop probably isn't going to have that same mistake if they're a music shop. But I mean, you might go in there and, hey, what's this? I love it. Oh my gosh. Like, oh, I don't remember what it, I think it was Silvertone was the company who made it. And I believe the name of the shape was Apocalypse. Apparently it was a Kiss signature, but it wasn't Gene Simmons's. It was the guitarist's. So it was weird. But they made bases out of it, and it's almost like I can't share a screen, but it's like a, if a V decided to be rounded and pointy at the same time. Silver Apocalypse base. Get a picture of this guy. Maybe. There's a decent one, I guess. So, like, almost a V pointed wings was a PJ. It sounded okay. Had a big high mast bridge. That thing, there was there. I don't think short of getting a like thick moving blanket and sewing it together, you're not finding a gig bag that fits it. Even like Tomon has a Tomon Extreme, and I think it's made to fit things like Thunderbirds, and it fit an Explorer P base that I had. Barely, it did not fit that. The thing is freaking huge. But I had seen that in my typical mom and pop shop that I go in, and they had it for 250, and I was like, what's wrong with it? They're like, nothing's wrong with it. Somebody came in, they couldn't take it anywhere. It was unwieldy. It doesn't balance well, and they wanted to get rid of it. They sold us a bunch of other stuff, so we didn't think anyone would really want to buy it. So we gave them $100, and I was like, I'll give you $200 for it. And they were like, good, sounds great. So I mean, that was kind of the situation there, but the long and short, you go in your mom and pop shops, you might be able to find like a good deal. Also, the mom and pop shops, it's like when you buy on Reverb, like the biggest thing, especially like I work retail. I've been in retail for, well, with Walmart, it's almost 13 years now. But I worked in retail all through college. My mom had multiple convenience stores that were hers to manage, so I helped out with that just as a hobby kind of thing. I didn't have a job during that time, so I helped with that because it was the right thing to do since she was paying for all my stuff. But I've had a lot of experience in retail, and your big thing you've got to remember as a consumer is businesses are in business to make money. I mean, obviously, Walmart's not out there as a charity. They don't just operate to get people stuff cheap. They've got to make money. People on Reverb, it's just like you and me. If you have a bass that you like, that you now decide you don't need, you don't want, whatever, and you're going to sell it. You want every dollar for it that you can get. That's just how human nature is. I paid 500 for this. By golly, I bought it used. I want $500 for it. Okay, maybe. If the market's flooded with them, maybe not. You've just got to keep in mind that the mom and pop shops, the reverb shops, when you're shopping with them, they're there to make money. They are there trying to make as much as they can. Simply ask, do you got some wiggle room? There's a, what is it? An Ibanez BTB 685 MSC. So the boutique based series 685 was, I think, discontinued in 2016. It's like a dark brown and light brown wood. And this one is the single cut, but it has the maple neck instead of the like regular whatever it was then, rosewood or whatever. Um, there's one on Reverb right now. They're listed at $850, $50 for shipping. It has a switch. It's supposed to be a two-way. According to the Ibanez wiki, the wiring shows two switches, one for passive active and the other for a mid frequency switch between like 250 750, I think. I don't know. I sent him a message. I was like, hey, I would love to have this. Do you know if it's the passive switch? Because apparently there were two options, because there weren't two switches, even though the wiring diagram shows two switches. And the person said, I don't know. I haven't had time to look. I was like, okay, I'm trying to see about buying it. I want to know if it has that. Like, I don't want to buy a thing and then send you a message saying, hey, this didn't have what it's supposed to have. And then we have to deal with return shipping and all that. I don't want to do that to somebody. I don't want it to happen to me. So I try to work it out. And it's been like a week, and the person's like, oh, I still haven't had time. Like, if you're an individual, I don't know how you don't have enough time to check that. I mean, some people, yeah, you're stupid busy. Maybe the base is at your old place you live and you're trying to, get in, get moved, whatever. Our instructor shows that he is here. Wait for him to give me the thumbs up that he's ready to join. Oh, he's already thumbs upping. There we go. The thumb has been upped. Ladies and gentlemen, Sonojono to the stage. There you go. That's what I was hoping for. None of the air horns going off for you.
There we go.
Is that you're calling me a hoe or yourself? I'm just wanting to make sure which one of this it is.
Probably. I don't know. We can be both hoes right now as we dig deep into these used gear and
there
bases.
We go. So, I was trying to think of weird things on used gear to talk about. So as apparently with prop, I was like, well, here's my thought. Prop was like, that's exactly what I was going to say. So now I don't have to say it because you said it in words that sounded nicer than mine. So I was trying to not do the like, here's everything I think. And then you get on and be like, what he said. Thanks for coming, guys. Bye. We did it.
Pretty much.
So, but no, I don't know how much of it you heard. I was simply saying, like, if you're going to buy used, if you're with Reverb or if you're in a mom and pop shop, you got to remember, just like if you want to sell your gear, they need to sell their stuff. Except if it's a mom and pop shop, not only do they want to make money like an individual, if they don't make money, they have overhead. They have a rent for a building. They have power bills, whatever. They need to make that money on top of just to make money to keep them in business. So all I was basically saying was, if you're shopping like used Reverb and it's Jim Bob's Overflow, I think mine's like Travis's Overflow is the name of my shop in case I ever sell anything there. If you're in a mom and pop shop, yeah, you can get decent deals because they might not have a lot in the instrument, but also, like, having worked retail as long as I have, don't be an ass. Like, don't walk in and be like, well, I can get this on Reverb for $200 cheaper. Okay, then go buy it on Reverb, because that's probably Jim Bob who had it given to him as a gift, or he bought it 4 years ago and he's not touched it since the pandemic, and he was going to be the next whatever Davy 504 because he was going to practice every day, and he practiced twice and thought, oh, this is too hard. And now he's like, I don't even remember what I paid for that. I'm going to get rid of it. Well, yeah, he's got it cheaper. He looked at what everyone else had. He marked it $200 cheaper to get it gone. So he had money now. That mom and pop shop might have gotten $1,000 brand new base, paid 400 for it, listed at 8, and you're like, well, I can get it for 6. Okay, then I'm sorry, go get it for 6 because I've got to make more than $100, $200 on this to make it worth me having bought it. But I mean, that was the big on used. Obviously, new, you've got your pick of wherever you want to shop. Musician's friend Carol, extension 2450, by the way. If you want to shout out to Carol.
So something similar happened before the live stream where I was out with my friend. That's why it took me long to get here. We went to a retro game shop, and there's a lot of older generation console classic games. And I got myself a bag's worth. I got myself a bag's worth, so it was worth it. But what sucked was that I actually had to witness a guy bringing in all of his old PlayStation 2 games, and amongst the pile of PlayStation 2 games, he had the original in case and manual Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Now that game before the remaster that came out last year, like maybe November, a couple months ago, now it doesn't really like hold up value because if it wasn't for that remaster, it would still hold a good amount, but because of the remaster, it just plummeted like extremely down. So if you have the OG in the case, Marvel versus Capcom 2, you would be looking like around close to 200, but because of the remake or remaster, it's like around 110, like 115. So of course he got a little sour about it, but he's all like, you know what, it's my fault. I held on to it too long. Because if he had it still without the whole remaster, he would have like banked close to 200, for a trade-in credit. But long story short, he traded it in with like of all of his other like bundle of PS2 games for basically an Xbox One, like I think the older generation model. I don't know, but it was something along the lines of I'm trading in all my games for a console from the Xbox. So I was like, all right, that's him. Was it a fair deal? I mean, 2 years ago, no, but now, most likely, because again, you have a game that's already depreciated in value because he held on to it for so long, and now it just doesn't hold value because of the remake. I mean, you can kind of align that to instruments too, in a sense. Like I know sometimes older is better. For example, the Gibson grabber with the actual sliding pickup, that right there,
the grabber. Actual grabber?
The actual grabber where you can actually grab the pickup and do what you got to do with it, So I believe that goes for around 25 to 3,000 used even before the, Epiphone release. I'm pretty sure the value went up even more, the grabber, OG grabber.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, Epiphone did remake the actual grabber where you can actually move the pickup. Let's say that were to happen, then maybe the actual OG Gibson grabber probably would have went down a little more. Probably not a dent, but it's still significant.
You're still going to have the people who go Gibsons on the headstock, not Epiphones. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you can kind of apply that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Or, I mean, finishes. You might have a limited edition finish. Oh, hey, Fender only did this one back in this series, and then all this. Like, look at the Antigua. Like, they did the Antigua. They bring back Antigua. I mean, I don't know what that did to the original ones in the Antigua finish, but now, just like you'd said with the video game, okay, now I'm not going to say that the Squire Antiguas are a remaster of the original Fenders, but hey, I can go get this. It's brand new. I don't have to worry about, was it a road dog for years that has had 8 beers spilled in it a night for 30 years or whatever. But yeah, I mean, the new one comes out. You never know what's around the corner that might decrease the value of what you have. I'd said something kind of like that earlier of unless you are seeing an instrument that use the fretless EHB that I got from you. You saw it and it was just too stupid of a price to pass up. And then I got it from you for slightly less stupid of a price, but still really close.
Yeah.
Not worth passing up. I don't play fretless, but every now and then I play it and I go, woo, 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 woo.
You
That's what
do
I can
what the
do with it.
fretless moi does, basically.
I can do what was the video I'd seen? I think a guy was playing a fretless bass and it was like Honda drivers in the middle of the night and he keeps doing like a
Oh my gosh. Yes. That meme.
so like I could try and do that. I couldn't pull it off, but I could try. But I mean, and that's the thing. Unless you see something that's normal circulation, this isn't like a sought after thing. Unless you see something for a stupid deal, most of us aren't buying these as investments. Like this isn't a, oh my gosh, I saw a 1961 Fender Stratocaster and someone had it for sale for $9,000 because that's a $30,000 guitar, and someone had it listed on Reverb for 9 grand because they said it's an old and at that point, this is just me being me, but at that point, if you see that person lists it for 9 grand and you can tell it's a 61, like you check the serial number and it checks out, and you pay them 9 grand for something that you know is worth 30, you're an asshole. That's just how that is. Like, I could not live with myself without messaging that person being like, you do know what you have, right? And then if they're like, yeah, it's an old guitar. Yes. In some people's cases, it is the old guitar, as a matter of fact. So, like
Yeah.
that's just me. I mean, some people would be just jumping up and down, so excited. I got a $30,000 guitar for $9,000. Absolutely, that's cool for you, but also, my conscience would scream at me for the rest of my life of, you could have at least given them half of what that was worth. But again, I don't think many of the people, especially anyone watching my little channel, are here for investment advice on the, if you see an OG Gibson Grabber for $1,000, I recommend investing heavily.
I mean,
But
there's
if you
definitely,
do see an
yeah.
OG Gibson Grabber for $1,000, you should probably invest in it. But
Whoop, sorry. Well, oh
I
yeah,
can do that too.
absolutely.
Percussion.
No, absolutely. I believe it's really like there's definitely a difference between a collector's market and a buyer's market.
Oh yeah.
Collector's market for me is very dicey because I'm not in that realm of
Yeah.
collectible because to me every instrument is a tool. I used to be on that camp of everything is a collectible, but as I've gotten over the years of buying basses and having them come in and out in this room that I'm in, a lot of instruments have passed me by where I realize that they're all just tools at the end of the day. But if say you want an instrument that you want a good deal on, then absolutely something to not pass up on. Like for example, the EHB fretless. That was very interesting considering I had wasn't really like in the market for one, but when I found it for that price, I was like, yeah, it's too good to like
Yeah.
pass up.
When they
Considering that,
run 1,000
yeah,
or more used,
they
and you found it what, 6?
I found it for 600, yes. So
Yeah.
basically half price and then some because I believe the EHB fretlesses go for like 13 to 1400 brand new. And then the guy
Yeah.
was selling it for 600 plus like 50 or $75 shipping. So like yeah, I did pay for the shipping and the tax, but like at the same time, I kind of got a deal out of it
Got it
considering that
half
it was
new price.
yeah, half for new price. You can tell the OG owner had no idea what he had because he was mentioning about like, yeah, I can't get it to moi. And to me, I'm like, it's more of a player technique than I can't get this thing to moi, so I'm just gonna sell it. Because I used to be on that camp too. Years ago, I used to have a Squire, fretless jazz bass, and I had the same reaction. I buy it, and I'm like, what? Why is it not giving me that moi sound that I've always wanted? And then realize that it's setup. That's how you get it. It's how you set up the instrument. And the lower the action, the better for a fretless instrument. Because the lower you get it, the more moi you get out of it, which
Yeah.
is what everyone
No
wants.
risk of fret buzz.
Yeah, no risk of fret buzz either. But yeah, absolutely. You just got to know what you have. That's really all I can ask or mention, basically. That's all you can look up to, basically. But
So I know on
yeah.
your channel when you talk about basses, you're almost always used. Like I mean, I know there are a handful of things. Like obviously, like the Sire Z3, the Z7, the Ray 2. Like they just can't. They just. I mean, in Sire's case, they might as well freaking just come out because the stuff wasn't available for the first 18 months that it was shown. But I mean, except for the stuff that just came out, you're typically okay. This is used. I got this. I found that. It was over here. It was under this bridge, wherever it was that I found it. So, is your typical mo? If there's a base I want, I'm gonna check for it used first, or are you? I'm gonna check new and then see how it compares to used as far as like the pricing, or are you just hey, I'm searching reverb at least 3 times a day on what's the newest post of everything, and then if I see something that I know is a good deal, or if I see something interesting, I'm just gonna check if it's a good deal.
So pretty much all of the above. I know there's times where I know for a fact when those Sire Z models came out, I had a feeling there were not going to be any used. And sure enough, even when the release came out and I had jumped on it brand new, I have not even found a single one used except for like once. And that was at a Guitar Center off the Guitar Center website used deal website or link. And they had one of the same color I had, the rose gold, and they were offering it for used 349, which was like pretty much 100 off of it brand new for the Z3. And I already, I remember messaging it to Floof on Discord, and he was all like, "Yeah, that's not gonna last. Like, it ain't gonna last." Sure enough, it didn't last. And
Yeah.
now, just this morning, one of the guys on Lobster's Discord server had posted another listing, but from the UK, the Z3, and they're asking 400 for it used. And I'm just like, I've noticed with Sire, when you look for a used Sire, it's no different compared to the brand new price. You're like maybe saving like $50 tops.
Demand.
And that's when I realized it's not worth it. Like that's why I don't really shop Sire a whole lot, because I've
Yeah.
noticed with Sire has a very great cult following. I I mean, to me, Sire is like along the lines of Squire when it comes to the cult of that brand. Just like how there's a cult with Squire, and I'm on that camp of the Squire lineup cult, because you also have your classic Vibe series that ran from 2008 to like 2016 or even 2017, which was like their golden era of Squire bases because of quality and how it just beats out the Fender made in Mexico bases, which is why it made sense why they switched over companies to a different manufacturer, and then just the qualities went down drastically. So
You're
I
talking
do.
about for the Squires.
Yes, for the Squires. Sire, even to this day, for me, they're very hit or miss with quality, and that's how it is with Squire. Like to me, Sire and Squires, they're about the same. Only difference is their features that they offer for a good, affordable price, which is why most people, including Lobster, always recommend Sire if anyone ever wants to like get into a bass or just even just a good bass all around for the price. And I agree,
Yeah.
Sire for
Value.
sure. If you can find one like that's another thing. If you can find it,
Yeah.
because again, Sires, yes, they're in demand, including their older models, and you're just gonna have a hard time finding it for a decent price. That's why I always kind of tend more towards Squire, because yeah, they produce a lot, and there's a wide variety of them you can still find online, but it's that demand and all that. So it's like
Sure.
I can, I mean, if I can't find the Sire I want, I could always go Squire, and I can do mods and whatever I can do with it
Sure.
and make it sound the way I want it to sound. Like I have a Squire bass behind me in a, I think it's like an amber finish, and it's the vintage modified 70s. And the only thing I did with it was basically swap out the stock pickups with Lindy Fralins, standard wound, and I also upgraded the electronics for a Mojo Tone solderless configuration, where basically I don't have to solder pickups whenever I want to swap pickups. I just, get the connector and I just connect it to the wires, and it's good to go. Now, luckily, I don't have the urge to swap out pickups on that Squire Amber finish, because the pickups on the Squire, the Fralins, just sound so good. and I don't even want to touch it anymore because I basically just made my go-to jazz bass. It's made it to the point where I had sold off just yesterday actually my Squire Burgundy Mist bass that I had bought off of Reverb from someone that actually modified it by painting the headstock to match the body color of the Burgundy Mist and upgraded the electronics. But
Yeah. Matching headstock.
yeah, it was good. It was I
You
think
had
I
a video
spent
on
like
that one, right?
I don't think so. I think I just featured it on the live stream. I try not to feature a whole lot of basses that I buy personally, just because to me, I've done it before and I just wasn't happy with the results. Not even enough people really willing to watch it. And I was just like, I mean, it makes sense. Like, why review an instrument that's like 20 plus years old? No one's going to realize or even notice.
Nah.
To me, it's more of a personal thing than anything. So I just said, you know what? I think when it comes to anything personal for me, I'm just not really going to update it other than like a live stream or just me featuring it and on a live stream, here and there. So I just kind of moved away from it. Like I know I have an Ibanez SR 700, and that right there, sorry, and then that right there was pretty much the Ibanez Spectre clone, where it has the same body
Yeah.
curvature. That was only an exclusive run for like 1 year, and that was good. I actually like that bass too, although it had some setup issues that took me a while to finally dial it in to where I want it. Just because neck through bodies and just neck through in general is kind of hard to adjust because it's either all or nothing.
Yeah. You
If
can't
you
shim the
have,
neck.
yeah, you can't shim a neck. You have to work with what you got, and let's say if your action is just out of whack and you can't get it lower to how you want it, you just might have to play in a higher action, and then you just
Or
can't.
you're or you're having to modify underneath the bridge and leveling that out, and that's
Yeah,
just a nightmare.
I know. I mean, if you like the bass that much, absolutely. But if it's something that you can't really want to, you don't want to maintain for over time, then get rid of it. That's
Yeah.
another issue as well. You buy an instrument you like, yeah, it's used, and let's say it's not of quality, but you buy it anyway because you like how it sounds. But then later down the road, you start dealing with consistency issues when it comes to quality, and then you have to outsource like a luthier that will upcharge you a lot just so you can just so they can fix it, and then you can play it. That right there just kind of like it almost sounds like a diminished return, but it really just depends on the instrument. If it's like something you really like playing because it feels good, absolutely go for it. Like if you want, do it. But if it's like an instrument you don't really care for and you don't really
Yeah.
want to pour a whole lot of money in it, then that's where it makes sense to like, okay, I would advise to sell it or trade it in. That way you can
Yeah.
save, you can get more money out of it towards the instrument you want. Like I was actually tempted this morning, but I'm glad I talked myself out of it by playing it. It was the Ibanez Mezzo because I wanted to trade that Mezzo since I hardly play it for the new Yamaha BB734s with the new colors that came out, the red and turquoise. I like the turquoise and I like the red. But then I tell myself, how many more PJ bases do I really need if I already have like four that I really like playing? I have
Isn't
the
the
Sire.
Mezzo PJ too?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And it's a medium scale. That's another thing
32.
too. That's yeah. So I'm like, I'll just keep the Mezzo. The only difference I'll probably do with it is upgrade the electronics to better pickups because the pickups are like whatever. But what really sucks about those Mezzos are the preamps. They're very noisy. And that's another thing you got to take into consideration. The price point you paid for it used, plus the upgrades you have to pretty much
Yeah.
spend, which can cost about the same price as the instrument itself.
I said that earlier about the Ray 2. Like I have a Ray 2 that's supposed to be delivered I think tomorrow maybe, and it's going to be like just sitting in the room with the TV so that while we're watching something together, a movie or something, I can just play around. And I'd said, if you get a Ray, say you're starting out right now and you love a Stingray look, sound, whatever about it, so you get a Ray 2. They're cheap, 250. You grab it, maybe it's noisy or maybe you just don't like the sound of it or whatever. Yeah, I mean, you could, like, my personal thing would be I'd get an EMG HZMM, the Music Man passive, because it's already passive. You could throw that in there, but between the pickup, I think the pickup's $120, $150 somewhere in there, and
Yeah.
then the wiring kit's like $80, $90. So you're paying almost what you paid for the base if you want to upgrade it to EMGs. And then at that point, is it worth it? Just like with the like Lob did the Sire Z3 and upgraded the pickups to the Hipshot ultralights. It's like, okay, a four string set of ultralights is going to run you $80 to $110 depending on, and that's just for the, that's not for the official ones, that's for the import licensed ones.
Yeah.
But you're paying 400-ish dollars for the base, and then you're going to put, just say, another $100 between the item, the tax, shipping, and all that into the ultralights to offset that balance. Like, I think like what you said, if, and not even speaking on Sire specifically, but if you're buying a used instrument and then that instrument isn't what you want, that's what I'd said earlier on the Ray 2. Do you want to spend that $200 to upgrade the electronics if that's the sound you know you want? Is, oh, I want an EMG sound. Do you want to spend that on the $250 base, or do you want to take it to a Guitar Center, get maybe $100 out of it, and then go towards something else that you might like better? So yeah, I mean, that's, it's definitely a thing with this hobby in particular, of the, do I upgrade or do I get rid of and change completely to something else?
Yeah, and I've been on that road too. There's even instruments I'm trying to sell that I don't really see myself playing. Like I have right now I have a dissected Squire Jaguar short scale PJ bass. I had originally wanted to pretty much make it my own, but to me, it's like I don't even play it anymore. And quite honestly, the instruments I have now currently are doing its job. So I don't really see myself needing a short scale like I had originally wanted. And I'm actually better off with the Mezzo, just because I actually do want to upgrade and throw more money on it for the electronics. And that's another thing too, not just buying basses used, but you can also buy pickups used as well. I've done it before. Talk
Oh yeah.
bass and even reverb as well. They sell used
Yeah.
pickups. And, that's another thing that saves you money as well. There are people I had spent, I think, like around 120 to 135 for a Nordstrand Music Man pickup, which is going to go on the Ray 2. Now that, if retail price, if I wanted to get the big man from Nordstrand, that would have been $200 plus having to wait 3 to 4 weeks for it to be made in it by hand from Nordstrand and then shipped out to me, because they don't just have the pickups already on the shelf ready to be shipped. They make them. They actually hand wound them and do what they can with those pickups. They don't just have them on a shelf and be like, all right, here we go, cool, and then they just ship you. They drop the label and just, that's right. Nope. They make it their own, and you got to wait the 3 to 4 weeks. So that's also another good thing too. You can even like outsource other companies too. I think I know Fat Bass Tone and Best Bass Gear. They also have those Nordstrand pickups like on the shelf ready for them to be shipped out. So that can also help you cut the middleman. Instead of you buying direct from Nordstrand, you can buy from other second or third retailers. And I've done it before. So,
and EMG, like you mentioned reverb, because EMG actually has, when they get a return, because if you order direct from EMG, they do the same thing. Like they start to finish put a pickup together, because they already have from like, saw a factory tour someone did with them, and they make their stuff because of course they supply places like your Guitar Centers or whatever who have them on the shelf. But if you order directly from them, like start to finish, they have like, okay, this is a custom order, custom quote quote order pickup. Like you wait for it to be manufactured, because they already have their backlog of who they have to send them to. But anytime they get a return, they have them listed used on Reverb as well. I don't remember what they call them, like factory return or something like that, and they're usually like 60-70% the cost of a new one, because I've bought the used pickups there too when I had that LTD Stream, and one of the pickups was cutting in and out on it. The luthier looked at it, he's like, yeah, the pickup's dying, there's something in there that's messed up. So I simply got a hold of EMG, and I was like, hey, here's the model, I just need that. And it was on their reverb shop, and they were like, yeah, we've got a used one instead of a new price. I think on it was like 120, and I think it was 80 or 90 bucks for the pickup. And they're like, doesn't come with wires, doesn't come with anything else. It's just a pickup, but it's an EMG, so you just done. So
That's basically it, pretty much.
yeah. So you do all three. You do the constantly looking for deals, but then also if you see something that is a good deal, you're like you I guess I could say you keep up to date would be the thing. Like you just is that something you would say, like you study it to keep up to date on the market? So not like you said, not the collector market. For one, I don't think you or I have the money to be a collector's market. That's usually a few extra zeros on the end of price tags when they're investment items. But
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're looking at 4 to 5 figures, and that's something I don't really want to obtain. That's also very high risk as well, because insurance is involved. You gotta insure instruments as well, because that's another thing too.
yep.
I don't insure instruments. I don't. I mean, I don't play out a whole lot. I don't tour. I don't like I used to. Basically, I used to do all that stuff. I don't anymore. To me, I personally find that it's a waste of time, especially in today where we're just so convenient at our homes watching performances at our home. And that to me, that could be a whole different topic that I'm not really a whole professional on that. That will be a great topic for your future content though, for sure. Are live gigs dead? Just like how Johnny Dibble made his whole thing about our bass players obsolete in live gigs. And yeah, that's a whole nother category. But for me in the whole used department, I do like to try to keep up to date, especially when I'm in the market for something I want personally. And I've also realized that there are good deals, especially when you want to like get it right away or get something that you want to basically, find at a better deal, because you just never know. It's kind of like when you shop for anything that you want to find the better deal. It's not being frugal or being cheap. It's just like, I know it can do the same thing I want it to do, but I can find it at a cheaper and maybe perhaps better price. I used to buy a lot of pedals brand new until I realized that used does the same thing. Only difference is probably a couple of scuffs and markings that the original owner had left, which
Yeah.
could potentially, it's more cosmetic than anything. And that
Yeah.
was also another thing that I used to be in the market for, which were bass pedals or just any effects pedals in general. Because when I was in a band, when I started my own group and I started playing a bunch of local gigs in California, I was that bass and drum band where I had to rely on effects 100%. I had to have a distortion pedal. I had to have, the compressor. I had to have pretty much all of the things that a guitar player would do, but bass would do it. So I had to rely on effects a whole lot. When pandemic hit and I wasn't playing anymore, it made sense to get rid of them because I knew that for the price that I spent on them used, it would just get my money back. And that's another
Yeah.
market too that you won't hurt your wallet a whole lot, and that's effects pedals. If you are in the market for effects pedals, buying used, especially used, is a better option than buying new, considering that again you're just maybe spending $20 to $40 less than retail, maybe even $100, just depending on the brand. But I haven't done or even purchased bass pedals in years, so I'm pretty sure the market is different. Because years ago, the Digitech bass synth wah pedal used to be, I kid you not, like $30 to $60 to $80. Now it's like triple that for no freaking reason.
Yeah, I
And
think AMP
yeah,
did a video too on the one that was used by like Daft Punk. I
yeah,
think it was
that's
a
the one.
Digitech. Yeah, and it was
That's the one.
was like, I got this used years ago for whatever it was, like dirt cheap, and it's like now I don't know
It's
why.
Yeah, I don't know why either. I
It's
mean,
because
quite
Daft
honest,
Punk broke up, and so the value went up. That's what it was. Collector's editions.
that or people just all of a sudden started to realize it was good, but quite honestly, it's not a good pedal. Even when I had it, it sucks. It's
I
not a good pedal.
I also think, I mean, an obvious. I've never used pedals. I've never been a pedal person. I've never looked at a pedal and been like, that's the thing that I want. Because I've always been like, if I was going to have effects, like I play guitar at church. because the guy who plays bass has been doing it for over 40 years and he's got
Hmm.
seniority, and we're not going to kick him off there. He's also one of the two main singers. So,
Right.
like, but he can't sing and play at the same time. So, if he's
Interesting.
singing lead on a song, we don't have bass in the song except for the keyboard playing left hand bass. So, that's fun. But he and all that he has is he has his 5 string Fender Jazz, and then he has a tone hammer, and I think and they only use the tone hammer as a direct box. Like they
Okay.
don't, he doesn't change anything on it, which is great because then I don't change stuff on anything. I just plug stuff in. I don't even turn my knobs. But I've never, like, when I've played guitar on the times that we've done, like, usually it's just 2 acoustics playing just for rhythm. But we've had times where we've done songs that actually have like a lead, not solos, because that's not what we're there for. But like, hey, this actually has a note by note thing that you have to play, like tablature you're going to have to learn and play, not just chords. I've never been like the, okay, hey, I'm going to grab a chorus pedal or a delay pedal or something for that effect, because as soon as I was told, hey, we need it to sound like this, and I heard it and I was like, oh, that has effects, I just grabbed a multi effect pedal. Like, okay, here, now this I can program the sounds in. Or, like, you could also use, like, I have the Spark 50. If I was going to play something where I needed effects, I would use the Spark 50. I have the app. I mean, that's another thing to me on pedals. The people who have pedals, awesome. Like, cool for you. It's really neat seeing people who have their pedal board and then you see like 58 different LED lights all over this thing. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, I can't even read what those are, so I have no clue how you know row 4, column number 6 button does the thing that you want it to do. But whatever. Like, I don't understand that when we have the modeling effects. Now, granted, I'm sure the pedals do it way different than the modelers do. But on that same note, again, I'm not a good instrument player of any instrument that I know how to play. I know how to muddle through and be any up to okay,
Hmm.
usually failure completely the rest of the time. But like, you talk about pedals, I think it's funny that I couldn't even conceive thinking I'm gonna buy a used pedal that isn't messed up. It's a thing you literally stomp on with your feet to make work. Like, it'd be like going to buy a used car and thinking it's not going to have dents, dings, scratches, scuffs on it. I
Yeah.
don't understand it, but I mean, yeah. And the used bass market, I touched on that earlier. Like, if you're buying used, provided it's not like the collector video game you were talking about earlier, or something like that. Like, if you're buying used, if it's something that is has some demand, if you're buying used, then it's not, it might not be an investment, but it also might just be like a temporary hold on your money. I can't show it because it's way on the other end of the room, but I think the name brand is Enki, like ENKI. It's a like Road Dog style case, like
Okay.
hard ABS plastic. It's made to hold like up to two Explorer guitars in it. It's a huge case. It's what I'm going to bring to
Interesting.
Bass House because it has locks on it that I can take to the airport and just be like, here. And if they drop it off the side of a truck, it's packed with like good dense foam inside, so everything should be safe. And then
That's good.
it's also going to have my clothes, so I don't have to pay for a second bag. But like, I had it because I used to have a case for every instrument that I had, because like each one, because my thought
Hmm.
process was, if something ever happens and I need to pack them up, I don't want to make multiple trips. And then when I had like 40 something instruments, that stopped because there was no way I was having that many cases or even gig bags. But that Enki, I took it to my local mom and pop shop, and I think they gave me $50 for it, because
Okay.
brand new they're like $700. But
Wow.
obviously that's not happening at a mom and pop shop in a college town. Nobody's like, do you guys have $700 airport ready road touring cases that hold 2 Explorer guitars or equivalents? No, that's not happening. And then just when I thought about Bass House, I was like, oh, I wish I still had that. I wouldn't have to pay for an extra bag. I could put my clothes, my bases, and stuff. So I called them up, and they're like, "Yeah, we still have that. Nobody wants that huge thing because it's like I think it's almost 5 foot tall.
Oh
Like
my
it's
gosh.
huge." So I was like, "I give you $50 for it." And they're like, "What'd we give you?" I was like, $50. I'm pretty sure, like 20 or 50. I know you guys gave me some money for it, so that's why I left it with you. And they were like, yeah, no one's going to buy it if we've got $50 in it. We'd have to mark it up. You can just have it back for what you paid, what we paid you." So,
Works
I
out.
mean, things like that. You might pick up a, what was that one Fiesta Red P base that like all of you had? Like every one of you had that Squire Fiesta Red P base.
That's right.
So,
It's one of those bases I'm glad I came across after I had sold it foolishly, and then 9 months later it pops up again on a Reverb website, and I had to buy it again. Did I buy it for the same price that I sold it for? No.
well,
Guy
and
knew.
that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, luckily though, I did reach out and I said, "Hey, I was the original person I sold it to you. Are you willing to sell it to me for the same price that I sold it to you?" Because he wanted to sell it to like 675, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" So I told him, "Hey," and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you. Yeah, I'll sell it to you for like 350." I was like, "Okay, good, thank you," because I did not want to
yeah,
spend almost 700 for the Squire Fiesta Red P base that I foolishly sold for like 400. So I'm
yeah.
glad that he still was able to cut me a deal, saying, "Yeah, I mean, sure, why not? I mean, you're the person I bought it from." So I was like, "Cool, got it back." Did
Yeah.
it
Let
feel the
me
same?
let me break even, and I have my shipping covered, kind of thing.
Yeah, basically. But what's kind of sucked though is that when I got it back, it didn't feel the same that I had, got it originally. It felt like it was,
Mm,
of course, being played on. That's the point of buying used.
sure,
But the magic was kind of gone. It's kind of, but I mean, it still does what it's supposed to do
sure.
for a P base. But I don't know. To me, it's like I wish I hadn't sold it because the story behind it was I had randomly hit up Craigslist, which I rarely do. I rarely go on Craigslist for bases because I just want to avoid the scam and the whole like having to like talk to people that are saying,
Gotcha.
"Yeah, we're good," and then all of a sudden, "Yeah, let's not do it anymore." I've dealt with flakes. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't like Craigslist as a website for buying instruments used. But yeah, people do go on used Craigslist to find gear. I'm not opposed to it. It's a personal thing that I don't
Sure.
want to even deal with. But it's just so random that I just said, you know what, F it. I went to Craigslist and sure enough, there was a Squire Fiesta Red P bass, and the guy was selling it for 250. And that's a really incredible deal considering that the Fiesta Reds in the market go for $500 to $600 used. So I randomly hit him up because he had posted his phone number on the ad and he lived about an hour and 10 minutes away from me. So I messaged him, "Hey, do you still have this?" Because the listing was up for like 2 or 3 days. So I just said, "You know what? I have a feeling it's sold, but I'm just going to message him anyway." I messaged him. He said, "Yeah, it's still available, but I have two people that are interested and are on their way to pick it up. If you're the first one to reach me, it's yours for 250." So I hauled ass. And it was
Yeah.
a rainy day too. So I hauled ass on the freeway going 80 to 90 miles per hour just to get that Squire Fiesta Red P bass on a rainy
Sure.
day.
There you
So
go.
it was worth it. Yeah, I even wore like a big ass jacket so I can cover myself. I even had the gig bag too. Guy pulls up. Um, we had a conversation. Sure enough, it was like some like kid 3 or 8 years younger than me. He was like maybe 21 at the time. I was like 27, 28. And we were just talking. We talk about music, saying, "Hey, have you ever like done shows here locally?" I was like, "Yeah, I used to like play around the Alhambra area, Hacienda Heights. Yeah, I used to like I'm familiar with this area." He's like, "Oh, cool. Like, what did you do before?" So I sent him my Instagram, and turns out we had mutual friends of people we knew, so that just even brought us even closer. To this day, he still follows me on Instagram, but he's like a tattoo artist now.
Cool.
Um, yeah, and I was like, "That's cool." So he kind of gave up on the whole music thing because he also used to do like bands locally, but I think he just kind of had a different calling, which is okay.
Sure.
That's another thing as well. When you sell an instrument and you know that you want to get rid of it for the money, then yeah, go for it. I think to me, if you really want to move an instrument, give it a good deal so that you know that the other
Yeah.
person will cherish it even longer and will appreciate it more. And that's another thing that I've done on my end. Like I sold that Squire Burgundy Mist jazz bass for $200. I spent literally double that on Reverb, but I knew for a fact that if I still have it online listing for like 350, almost close to what I spent on it, it's just going to sit there. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like I don't want it to sit. I'd rather just get rid of it for a
Yeah.
deal for someone to
Mm-hmm.
also reap the benefit of the deals I come across. I like to see it as good karma, especially
Sure.
with how I sell instruments as well. It's like, you know what? Lately, because I know I was on a freaking roll in 2023 and 2024 on finding used gear. I was like, man, I'm finding like a bunch of things. Like last year, I also came up with a the same thing, Squire, made in China, the highly praised Squires and the Sonic Blue finish, and I found that on Guitar Center used for $200. So I was like, hell yeah! So I did that. I actually found two of them for that same price last year, and I ended up flipping them both. But of course, I sold the last one for the same price I had spent on Talkbase, and of course, the person that bought it was like, "I've done business with you before. You don't got to worry about the shipping charge. I got it covered. Here's the label. Just let me know the dimensions. I already have the label for you printed out, and then just send it to me." So I was like,
Sure.
"Cool." Sold it to him for 150, and it also helped me cut having to price him the shipping and all that. He already had it ready to go. He just sent me the email saying, "All right, here's the label, good to go." That's another thing too. You can even work with the potential buyers too or sellers. Work with your potential sellers. Be very communicative with your deals because you never know. They can say yes or no. It's literally the point of asking a question and then seeing if they're willing to respond. That's really it. And that's how it works. Just be very communicative.
Well, yeah, and I think like a good wrap up point I think is the like again if what you're wanting is a certain thing and it's not available used, then you've got to go new. And if it's not available new, like something that's discontinued, like an Ibanez they made for a whole year and then they just decided to kill it for no reason. Like then you're kind of up the creek where you're just waiting to see it. But on the used stuff, yeah, I mean, I I think I don't remember. I put videos in queue like months in advance, so I have the one a week all the time. But one of the ones like Lob did a video years ago, and it was like, "Hey, you want to know the super secret way of getting the best price? Ask people what their best price is." And it's
Hmm.
like for used gear, like I think I don't remember who was on with me. It might have been Prop, but I'd said about used gear literally you ask the person selling, "Hey, what's your best price? What's your bottom dollar?" However you want to word it. How low can you go on this, or how low are you willing to go? If the person gives you a price and you don't want to pay that price, leave them alone. Like don't message somebody and be like, "Hey, I'm really interested in this, but I want the best deal," or "Hey, I don't have a whole lot of money to put into this. What's your best price?" And then they go, "The best I can do on this is $600." And you're like, "Oh, well, would you take 500?" Don't do that. Like
Yeah.
if they say this is the best price I'm willing to do, if anything, be like, "Hey, I understand. The most I have to spend right now is $500. If that changes for me and it's still here, I'll message you. Or if you decide you're able to take five, then let me know. Don't just,
Hmm.
hey Sono, how much you want for that mezzo? Oh, I don't really want to sell it, but if I did, I'd take 500 for it. Well, would you do three? No, just stop. I told
Oh
you
no,
a
yeah.
price. But I mean, and I do think like personally, I look at the stuff new first because I want to get a baseline on the price, and then like my EHB, well, the three of them, I got deals on each of them. The one from you, obviously, and then the marine or Pacific blue or whatever the color is, the
Yeah.
1505 blue one with the burl poplar.
Hmm.
That one I found because those run new at the time. I think those were 1600 new, and I found someone who had it on. I think it was listed on Reverb. I think they listed it at like 13 or 14. I messaged them and I was like, I'll give you 12. Like, I'll give you 12 because they had it with free shipping. I was like, I'll give you 12. Like, that's 2/3 ish of what they are new. Um, and the guy was like, yeah, sounds good. So we did that. I'd told the story about the 6 string, the 1506 that I'd gotten. I found one on Reverb. Those go 1900 new. And I found someone who had it listed for, I think it was 1400. I messaged them. They didn't have, like, offers weren't open. So I'm not going to message you. If you can check mark the box if you want offers. I'm not going to message you and be like, hey, would you take less? That's not how that works. If I wanted offers, I'd ask you for offers. If you don't mark offers, I'm not going to send you, hey, I'm going to pay you less money to sell the thing, you're sir on the price. So I messaged the person. I was like, hey, I want it. I did the purchase. The next day, I popped up Reverb and looked, and someone had the exact same one listed for $12.50 with offers. So I thought, you know what? I've already got one on the way for 14 plus the tax. I'm going to shoot this person an offer for 1200. That knocks $50 off. That's plenty wiggle room if they have options for offers open. And it was not 5 minutes and the person accepted. So I messaged the people I bought it from the day before. I was like, hey, I'm going to sound like an asshole, but I bought this thing from you yesterday. You guys haven't shipped it. And they were like, no, we haven't shipped it. We usually pack all of our stuff because they were like a small shop. They were like, we pack our stuff at the end of the day after someone buys because we want to make sure the payment clears. I was like, cool, sounds good. I just found one for $1,200. Like, I either want to cancel with you guys, and they were like, yeah, we can't match that, so that's fine. And they were all fine with it. They just they did the refund cancel order thing, so it worked out. But like, that was kind of like what you'd said of, if you know the market. I saw something that I knew was 1900 new. I ended up getting it for $1,200, and then when I sold it to the shop that has it for sale, I had it consigned first, and they were like, how much do you want to sell it for? Like you said, on kind of the good karma thing, I went on Reverb. I said, what's the cheapest? I found the items, sorted it least to most, and they were running like 1550 was the cheapest. So I said, okay, market at $1,400. Well, they go for more than that. Yeah, that's why this will be the first one to sell. The ones who are all 1550, 16, whatever, those ones people are going to be like, why is this one $100 cheaper? Okay, and then even if they send an offer of, hey, I'll give you 1,300, okay, do it. I get 80% of that. I don't want to deal with selling it myself. That was a thing I already talked about a lot. I don't want to deal with, kind of like you'd said with Craigslist, I don't want to deal with the, oh, well, I got it in and it was damaged. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You Googled pictures of one that was damaged and then sent that to whomever. Or, oh, I got it here and it's not the one that you said. Bull. I did not mail you the wrong base. I promise.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. I actually had encountered 2 incidents like that in last year in Reverb, which is kind of shocking because I'm pretty good with Reverb. It's just that my last 2 transactions were very weird. One person had blamed me that I had dropped it myself when it wasn't the case. It was the fact that he poorly packaged the base and had the finish of the instrument like already completely chipped right off, and it was in the position where you would rest your forearm, so it would just make things a whole lot more complicated to play, especially when you have like a big gash of wood missing on top
Sure.
of the finish. So it's not going to be comfortable. And I had even outsourced some luthiers outside of Guitar Center, and I showed them the damages, and they're like, "You're looking at 800 to $1,000 refinish and repair." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So let me just get my money back
Yeah.
from Reverb that I spent $400 or $300 on a Ray 34 from Sterling. So that's another deal, right?" That's why I was like, "Heck yeah, let me get this deal." Sure enough, guy shipped it, but the thing is, he didn't even package it. All he did was threw the base in there and stuffed it with brown paper. No
Like
bubble
in a
wrap.
gig bag or just in a box?
In a box. No,
Oh my
no
gosh.
bubble wrap. Just here is the base. I'm gonna just shove a bunch of brown paper, and yeah, obviously
Yeah.
with that type of protection, you're not. It's not protection. It's negligence. That's what it is. and it was
But
terrible. And of course, the
yep,
guy's all like, "That's all it was in there." I could have sworn I had put more than in there. I was like, "Nah, dude, this is exactly what is inside when I opened this base to take it out. This is it." So I need my full refund. And sure enough, Reverb reaches out to me, and they're like, "All right, we're gonna give you a full refund," but you can tell they were just not happy with it.
yeah,
They didn't want to do it, but they did it because I said, "Hey, look, this is it. Like, I can't take
yeah,
partial. I can't even keep it." And so it's terrible. And then another
yep.
one was a fretless bass. It was a Squire that had the truss rod is stripped. Oh, it wasn't a fretless. It was the Squire Contemporary Active Jazz basses, the one with the soap bar pickups. That had a faulty truss rod that it was frozen. I couldn't even freaking I
Turn
couldn't
it.
move it. I couldn't even turn it. Even the luthier, my guitar center that I go to, that did my Z7 mod, he was all like, "Yo, whoever you bought this from, stripped the hell out of this freaking truss rod. I don't know how, because I can't even get a big size truss rod to
Oh,
like actually turn." So he
gotcha.
stripped it.
Hmm.
He was all like, "Yeah, I can't do anything with this." And plus, the truss rod's frozen. Even when I was barely able to fit the big truss rod I had,
So that's
I
why
couldn't
it was
even move
stripped
it.
because it was like locked in place.
Yeah. So I had to, talk to the seller, and seller was literally calling me a bunch of names saying I did it, and I'm just like, "Yo, dude. I mean, again, what's up with this? What's up with people telling me I did it?" I was like, "Okay, first off,
Yeah,
the apparently the Sterling Ray 34 with the chip damage, I did it. Okay, whatever." And then the other person, "Oh, I did this." I'm like, "Dude, like, where is the accountability?" And that's another issue
yeah,
too. It's just like people don't want to be accountable for the things that they don't have. I mean, the truss rod thing is an excuse right there for sure, because you don't really know. Sometimes you might have an instrument that you think it's good, but when it goes to a different state, of course the bass is
sure.
going to move.
Or if
It's
you bought
wood.
it used and it worked fine and you didn't ever touch the truss rod, then you're like, I
Yeah.
never had problems with it. Yeah,
Yeah, like that is that definitely is understandable when it comes to the whole like, all right, I just shipped a base with poor packaging. Then yeah,
yeah,
that's um so excusable. That right there is negligence. Again, once it's it's terrible. I would never ever condone that, or even ship an instrument like that, because that to me it just shows he didn't really care. He just wanted to, just wanted to get rid of it,
yeah.
which is fine.
Not
It's a
paying
great mind.
attention.
Yeah, it's a great mindset to get rid of things, but also like be mindful of like this shit is going to get tossed around
Yeah.
by UPS workers and
Mm-hmm.
people that just handle packages.
And it's made
I
of wood. It's
uh huh.
not like a solid piece of rebar that you're shipping from one
Oh yeah,
place to
and
another.
I had briefly worked as a FedEx worker, and what my job was basically filling up the FedEx trailers and pretty much just loading. That's all I did. I did that for 3 months, and I couldn't do it anymore because it was just terrible. But I would see what goes down with these, with
Sure.
how we handle the
This
packages.
says fragile. Oh, throw it twice.
Oh no, yeah. There's times where I had other people help me load a trailer because the freaking trailers are huge, and there's even more stuff you can fit inside the trailer. Like on the panels inside the trailer, there's a latch, and then there's more stuff you could throw under. So that right there takes you 6 to 7 hours to fill for your 10 to 12 hour shift, and you got to do that for pretty much 5 days a week. And yeah, I couldn't do it anymore. But yeah, the people I seen just throw packages in there because they just want to go home already. Well, yeah, I've seen it. I've been a victim of sometimes where I just was pissed off and I just had these packages and I just go, and that's it. Like
Yeah.
just chuck it. Like it doesn't matter. I'm trying to build a wall. Like that's the whole point of the job. You're supposed to like build this beautiful wall of packages so that way they don't fall when the driver drives them or do what they do with them during transit. You're supposed to make it like real nice, real pretty.
Sure.
No, no one cared. They were just like, I want to go home. I hate this job, and things like that. But again, a whole different topic there. But yeah, there was a time when I had bought my Fender USA Geddy Lee, and I bought it online on Sam Ash. But here's the thing: I didn't buy it. I could have sworn I didn't buy it because this was in 2021 where I had placed a pre-order of it, but I canceled it because I said, "Oh, I mean, it's been pre-ordered for a year now. I don't think it's ever going to exist." So I canceled it, and the Sam Ash worker's like, "All right, cool, it's canceled. Cool. All right." A year and a half later, I get an email saying your bass has shipped from Sam Ash online. I was like, what the heck? I didn't order a bass. I look at the invoice, the Fender Geddy Lee. I was like, oh, okay, well, cool. And then I find out that they charged me for it. I'm just like, oh, that's not good. So I
I
was
was
like,
all
you know
for a
what?
free base, but hold on now.
Yeah, I was up for the free bass, but then they charged me for it still, and I'm just like, I didn't buy it. I canceled it, and I was like, you know what? Whatever. This is kind of like a Christmas gift for myself, and it was retail price, which is expensive, which I will not go down ever again. That's another thing too. Fender USA Geddy Lee jazz basses on the on the used market go between 1,100 to 1,600, so saves you a lot of money from buying it brand new for 22, close to 2,300 brand new. So definitely something
Half.
to look up for, because I honestly might consider rebuying it again for the fourth time, because I've owned those Geddy Lee USAs already like three times now. And if I were to ever get it again, that would be my fourth time. And I don't even know. Um, Again, on my end, I'm trying to like have a certain amount of instruments on my end, just because
Yeah.
I don't really want to see myself bringing a whole lot with me, like whenever that time comes. But yeah, anyway, there's a time where when I was still working at FedEx, I found my package there of the Geddy Lee, and I'm just like, can I take this with me? Like, can I? And but I
Like
couldn't.
I work
It's
here
like it's
and
like I
it's
work
fine.
here. I see my Geddy Lee there because I see it in a cage full of other boxes, and I'm just kind of like, I hope no one throws it. Like that was another thing too I was worried
Can I
about. So
pack
I was like,
that one?
it's like, I hope no one throws it. And then I was like, cool. Looks like I'm expecting it tomorrow. You know what they said on my freaking email? Delay. I'm like, what do you mean delay? It's in the freaking warehouse that I work at. Let me just grab it right now. Like
Yeah.
that was my issue. I was like, yo, my base is here at the FedEx warehouse. I
Let
want
me
to take this.
contact FedEx and see about this delay.
Yeah, you know what
Yes.
sucked? It was on delay for 3 days, and I'm like, it's here. And then, of course, every time I show up the next day, it was in the same spot in the same cage, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
of course, it's in delay because no one's freaking working it. So I actually like, I just was curious. I went up to the manager. I was like, hey, like, is anyone working that trailer? He's like, oh yeah, there's something wrong with the trailer. I guess there's like some like hazmat spill. That's where there's a delay. I was like, all right, but like, what happened to these packages? Are they like gonna go to a different trailer? Because I was just curious. I just want to be, curious. And they were like, no, like certain packages go to like different, specific trailers, so they has to go to that one. I was like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. Is it because it's like the area? He's like, yeah, it's mainly because of the area. So like, each like driver, like when they unload it from the trailer, they have these routes. I was like, oh,
Sure.
cool. Thinking like I'm interested, but I'm not. I just was only interested about my base having to go
Yeah.
home. That's why I'm
So
like,
that package
okay,
right there, what if I could deliver that for you? Like to me.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. But no, it was worth it. I had fun when I owned that base for like 2 years before I just sold it, and then
Was that the first, second, or the third one?
the third one. Yeah, the first one was when I had purchased it in pandemic 2020. It was on sale at Guitar Center for 1,000, just for 1,000. And I was like, wow, 1,000 for a Geddy Lee? Heck yeah. So I bought it and of course played it. And then I sold it for more because that was me like still doing the whole flipping of market.
Sure.
And then the second one was basically the same year as well. I was like, cool, I found another Geddy Lee, but for this time, 1,100. Wow. So I'm going to flip that one again too. So I got the second one, flipped that one for the same price I had sold it used for like 15 to 1,600. And then the third time was the Sam Ash one that I had, mistakenly
Gotcha.
purchased. But I was like, okay, I thought I canceled it, but whatever. But yeah, I don't know when the fourth one will happen. It will probably be like way down the line.
Sam Ash will send you another one. That's
Rest in peace. But no, I don't know. I really don't know anymore because like that was the best feeling jazz bass. Like it really is. Even to this day, it still is the best feeling jazz bass, the Geddy Lee signature. But I have other better feeling jazz basses currently that I see myself playing a whole lot. Right now, currently, it's the Squire Vintage Modified 1977, which is the one that I modify with the Lindy Fralin pickups. And then the second best would be the Antigua, which surprisingly I don't play a whole lot of, but I just like the fact that it's Antigua, if you know what I mean.
sure.
It's just a
Yeah.
nice bass to look at. Do I play it a whole lot? Not really, but it's just something that is nice to own or have,
Sure.
considering its rarity. That was a made in Mexico limited edition run that they made like only 250 of in production. So it just has more sentimental and
Sure.
limited edition value.
Couldn't get
I
it
mean,
again, kind of thing.
yeah, the fact that basically that bass has a different neck, yeah, it might have, degraded its value, but that was kind of the reason why I did it. It's like I wasn't going to resell it, I wasn't in the mindset of buying the Antigua and reselling it for more because I believe I had spent, thankfully, with the instruments I sold towards it, I had spent around 1,300 for it, but luckily half of it was covered from an EHB I had sold towards it. So I'm glad that half of the cost was covered by another bass because yeah, I really wanted that Antigua, and of course the guy had put in an offer. Like he originally wanted to sell it for 15, but I offered 1,100 just so I can see if he would be willing to sell it for that much. And he's all telling me, hey, I have another person that made an offer, so I'm waiting on that. So if he doesn't respond, it's yours. So I was like, damn, like I was already feeling defeated. Like, dang, like I don't think it's gonna be mine then because he already has another buyer. And then sure enough, he messages me saying, hey, send me that offer and it's yours. I was like, dude, hell yeah. So I sent that offer hoping like no one else got beat me to it. And he accepted the offer right away. And that was my bass ever since.
There
Originally
you
it
go.
had the maple neck, but
Mm.
I ended up selling that maple neck because I was like, I don't really need a neck kind of hanging around here.
Yeah.
I'll just sell it to someone. And sure enough, I had sold that maple neck. Um, so it's not really original. The only thing original is the body, not the neck, because the neck had that bullet truss rod by the string tree. But yeah, I love that bass. Like I just love looking at the Antigua. It's beautiful. I think currently it's set up real low. I had like maybe like adjusted the nut, so like I filed the nut a little bit lower to fit extra light gauge strings,
Mm.
extra light pro steel strings from Diodario. And yeah, that's another thing. All my basses are not wired with Dunlop dual dynamics. They're all like different strings. Like right now, my main players, the Ibanez Tallman, the with the Nordstrom pickups, that currently is strung with the Roto Sound nickels, or not nickels, the Roto Sound stainless steels, the ones that the ones that feel like bridge cables. Those are cool, especially for that bass because it's so mean and loud, even with those stock Nordstrand pickups. That's why I truly believe in Nordstrand with their higher output pickups. And then let's see. I think that's really it. Most of it is all. Oh yeah, I have DR Dragon skins on the Squire Amber vintage modified bass that has DR Pure Blues on my Yamaha BB434. So just different, strings. I like to mess around with other strings and just kind of, I am a strong believer of each bass plays differently, and it's not always going to react the same way with strings. It's always going to have a different reaction. For instance, when I had DR Pure Blues on one of my basses, it didn't sound good, so I moved it to another bass, and that sounded better on that one. So I was like, okay,
Hmm.
I know for a fact DR Pure Blues work extremely well on the Yamaha BB434, and the other one was the Dunlops that worked better on the Sire U7 than the Pure Blues. So I was like, okay, that's all right. I already know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is where they go.
There you go.
But yeah,
Well, it normally I try and do these for an hour. We've already done an hour and 30 minutes. And
there you
my
go.
kid's in there screaming, wanting me to come put him to bed. So,
There it is.
do the fun sign off. So this, oh, get the camera. This is Sonojono. He's been our instructor for the evening on purchasing used and all that fun. I am the okayest bassist, and I thank you all for swinging by. As always, I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Yes, thank you for having me here, and thank you again for the platform.